the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Atlas IED, innovative audio solutions for every business environment.
This is Tim Albright with AVNation, with the Women of AV. Today's subject is Rachel Archibald. Rachel is the Director of Marketing for ClearCom. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
You and I got to know each other at NAB, National Association of Broadcasters. But ClearCom's been around for a long time. Intercom and communications is one of those things that's certainly part of the AV industry, broadcast and other parts. So let's start with the overarching thing that we always try to do is how did Rachel get involved in the AV industry?
Well, I'm going to date myself by saying that I answered a newspaper advertisement for a trade show manager back in the fall of 1998 for Meyer Sound, which is based in Berkeley, California, and that was my beginning.
So talk about that for a second, because Meyer Sound is one of those that, first of all, the Meyer family is incredibly creative, incredibly smart. What was it like working for them back in kind of the late middle 90s?
I mean, it was an incredible opportunity. I don't think that I knew what I was getting into when I started with them, but they're fascinating. And the company was growing quite a bit at that time. So at that time, it was this period of exponential growth. And I got to be part of that, and that was really exciting. I mean, their standards are so high for everything. I was, working on 4K material for screens when most people didn't have HD or 2K screens in their homes. So it was really an exercise and kind of the best of the best across everything that we did. And
certainly cutting edge as well, I had to be. So
yes, absolutely. It's amazing how passionate John Meyer is about video as well as audio. So I like that.
When you look at the last 20 years or so, what sort of challenges have you faced in the industry and being a woman coming up through the ranks?
Well, certainly I had my own professional challenges. I think I tend to take on too much, that sort of thing. But I think it was difficult for me because I was promoted from within at a fairly young age, and so I think a lot of times people still considered me kind of the trade show girl, even when I was the head of a fairly large global marketing organization. So I would oftentimes get asked to make dinner reservations or adjust hotel reservations when that was clearly not within the scope of my role. So as someone who has an instinct to say yes to everything, it was really important that I learned how to clearly and professionally and politely say no to the things that weren't appropriate. But now things feel really different. I'm in a leadership role at ClearCom, which is headed up by a woman CEO who's a very strong advocate of women's rights. And I look around at the industry and I see all these young people, and not just young people, but everybody talking about ways to raise the voices of women, how we can look at things differently, how we can be more inclusive as an industry. So it's a very different environment from when I started.
This is just a personal or a professional interest here, this next question, because I know folks, both men and women, who have an issue saying no. And as a recovering person as well who has a problem saying no. How did you do that? How did you learn that?
I think I just came up with ways to solve the problem in another way, to recognize that there was a need for something to be done, and to find a way to get that done without it being me that gets it done. So I think it's not really about saying no, it's about saying yes, and I have just the right person to help you with that, or yes, and can that be done next week, or something along those lines.
All right, you are not nearing retirement because you and I are roughly the same age. So actually, I think she's younger than me. When you look at where you're retiring, and when you retire, and you look back on your career, what would you like to see have changed in the industry?
Well, I think what I'd really like to see is the idea of inclusion and diversity being embraced wholeheartedly and not just be seen as something that we have to comply with or kind of a little bit of a chore. I feel like our clients are people of all different perspectives and abilities, and it's really important, and it's going to be what forces us to be creative, is to really meet the needs of everybody out there. AV is not just for the sighted, it's not just for the people who can hear, it's for everybody out there, whether they're regardless of their perspective on the world. And I think that there's so much richness there that I think sometimes gets lost in the sense of it being something imposed upon you, upon the industry from outside. So I think the only way that that can change is that the voices of the industry, that the industry itself becomes more diverse.
So how can you, either sitting at ClearCom or you personally, how can you help affect that change?
Well, it's a big question, and I'm sure that I'm not doing enough. But I think first and foremost, I try to notice my own unconscious bias and just be open to the idea that I'm going to make mistakes and other people are going to make mistakes, and to just look at that and kind of quickly acknowledge those mistakes and try to figure out how to learn from them, and not be scared of looking at that. And that's pretty hard work for all of us, I think. And then really just to look around and listen to other people. I work to be an ally. I look to try to see if there's ways that I can support voices that are different than mine, and who might be challenging the status quo. I really appreciate the opportunity that there's more opportunities now to listen to people from different perspectives. There was a whole DII track at Infocom that Avixa put together, which I really appreciated. I love listening. I love stalking the conversations on Twitter, including AV and the AM, because a lot of times you see some different perspectives shared there. Currently, I'm involved in several organizations within the industry that support women. RISE, which is a group that supports gender diversity in the broadcast technology realm, and the Avixa Women's Council. And then within ClearCom, there's a group that's been started by one of the women leaders called Women in Technology. And so I participate in that as a way to support the women within ClearCom and the broader HME companies. I guess, let's see, through RISE, I was a mentor last year, and that was fantastic. I learned so much more than I think my mentee learned, but it was a great experience for both of us. It was a lot of fun. But I really think it kind of starts with oneself. Another thing that we've been doing at ClearCom is we've been looking at our website and our software to see how that can meet accessibility standards.
Okay.
And we've established an inclusive language policy. So there are a lot of different things to do, and I think you just have to keep your eye out for them and really follow up on them when they become presented to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Rachel. For AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Find more Women of AV there, as well as our 2 weekly programs. One is called Resi Week. It looks like the residential side of AV. And the AV Week, which is the weekly one for commercial. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.